So we are not replacing manpower. What we are saying is that
What was the first intervention did you get? Did you get like a job, or
No.
did you start with a job, or did you start with your business?
if I'm applying to an ABB, what if I don't get selected or if my application doesn't follow through? Do I have other options?
Ahmedabad ecosystem में 2007-2008 में this was happening.
I think gaining a work experience will only prepare you for what you want to do.
Robotics was pretty big at that time, but at the end of the day,
Say the giants like Cognizant or Accenture or any of them, what basically happens is
I've seen my employees also, they're practically helpless if there is no chat GPT.
the 5.0 makes more sense than the 4.0. With robotics, what happens is
Hello everyone, I'm back again. So today we are shooting a very interesting segment with one of our mainstream players of a very big industry tap that he's done till date. His name is Nitiraj. And he's the CEO and founder at Igneeva. This is a lovely, first of all, lovely meeting you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much
at
for
my
having me.
equation HQ.
Yes.
And today we are just going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of nice, interesting segments. Where we're going to be understanding a lot about you, your company, obviously about the industry a little bit, about how robotics has shaped into, about your career shift, about all the things that is what you have planned up so soon, and a little bit of market, a little bit of trend, something that people can relate to. Because our target audience is primarily engineers or primarily people who are in the first year, second year, third year, fourth year people, and also some working professionals as well.
Right.
So some sort of a conversation that we could have that could probably help them out, and they could go to that extra edge, that extra mile. So we'll be discussing on that front. So overall, let's have a very interesting and a very soothing based conversation where we're keeping it very chill and natural.
Sure.
And we will also be talking about some fun elements that you have probably done in your college life or probably done in your company recently that you would probably would want others to also do.
I think I'll have to really tax my brains on that. Fun element in the company has been really rigorous. The journey has been rigorous, but I get that.
Perfect. So before we get started, I would want to ask you primarily, number one, how would you term yourself as a person? Are you a creator? Are you a productive guy? Are you a person who started from zero in terms of going into that mile where you started corporate and then went into the startup journey? What was fueled inside your head when you went into naming your company as Igneeva? Let me just get me started with about you and about how this company was actually started.
Sure. So thank you so much for having me, Kaustav. It's a pleasure being here. And definitely, as far as Igneeva is concerned, my journey is concerned, I'd like to. So this is like a flashback moment, actually. So okay. So by qualification, I have done my engineering from LD. College of Engineering. I did it into rubber and plastic engineering, which is into polymers.
Okay.
And post that, I did my masters from PDPU. In fact, after I completed my masters in 2012, in fact, it was a fag end of the my journey of master's degree. The specialization program was energy and infrastructure. So,
oh, nice.
Yes. So it was ENI, and I was always interested into getting into something which was niche. So it was not, general management was not really my true calling.
Okay.
Say a master's in management science with marketing, HR, operations, and finance.
Okay.
And that's why I selected Pandit Deen Dayal University.
Okay,
that's what,
PDU.
PDU, yes.
And when was this?
This was 2010 to 2012.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we were the fourth batch after the inception of SPM, the School of Petroleum Management. Now, of course, is the School of Management.
Yeah.
Post General Management, which was introduced. So I remember this anecdote which I would like to share with you. So entrepreneurship was an elective subject.
Oh, okay.
Right?
During that time.
During that time. And
did you get credits for that?
No, we got credits for that.
Okay.
And basically, I was the one who selected entrepreneurship as well. It was post. We had a trimester system, so it was in the last trimester. And basically, one of our professors from EDI who used to come and teach this regarding entrepreneurship, he came in, and the first question he asked to the batch was, how many of you would like to be entrepreneurs? And I was one of the first in my batch to actually raise the hand and say I would love to be an entrepreneur.
How big was the batch during that time?
60.
60 people.
60 people,
Nice.
out of which 90 of them were engineers. And yeah, so that was the case, yes. And I was definitely one of them.
So from the near about from the start, probably did it start from the family? Like, does your father employ himself as one of the business people, or how did this entrepreneurship of business came in?
Right. So basically, so I'm born and brought up in Ahmedabad. My father, he has been having an extensive experience of textile industry and AHU manufacturing.
Oh, great.
He was the head of department for services and installation for a manufacturing company, which later got acquired by Daikin.
Oh, wow.
And Daikin,
That's huge.
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
my mother, she has been working in a bank.
Oh, she's been working
with 37 years of work experience.
Oh, wow.
So that was, but with business, yes, my father did initiate, or he would, I would say, he was a first generation entrepreneur.
Okay.
So, but again, the seed for getting into deep technology or to get into manufacturing or to get into robotics, I think it came from a personal, motivation. But yes, my father once asked me this question. I remember before I started off that, why don't you get into manufacturing? Because he was obviously into manufacturing as well.
It's very obvious.
So that made me think seriously that yes, actually, and this is something I really need to look at. I need to take a very serious.
When you thought about manufacturing, what came into your mind? Textile and things like
exactly.
that.
So when I actually thought about manufacturing, what came into my mind is what is the innovation that I can bring in any product that I can think of.
Okay.
Right. That was the first thing which came into my mind. The first thought which comes is, earlier used to be so that our engineering branch is very niche when it comes to the engineering which I actually did. So in my bachelor's, the only other college at that point of time which was offering this engineering was IIT Kanpur.
Acha, out of
all the colleges in India,
only IIT Kanpur was
and
there?
LD.
And LD?
LD, yes.
Oh my God.
So for masters specifically and even for bachelors. So तब ये था, initial thought यही था कि मैं robotics में जाऊँ.
अच्छा.
But
तब तो robotics का तो start भी नहीं हुआ होगा.
so this time about 2005-06.
Yeah, that is the time people would have thought of robotics that to be in the machinery only.
Exactly.
Manufacturing में big machinery, they would be using some robotic part. Yeah.
Absolutely agreed. So robotics was, I mean, still is, I believe, more skewed towards the industry.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, and I wanted to get into robotics engineering. So
how did that happen? Like,
I'll tell you the story. So initial concern was that which branch actually to select if I wanted to get into robotics. So the options were mechatronics, the options were instrumentation and control, IC, which were linked to robotics. But there's no such thing as robotics engineering.
Yeah,
because
it's a part of it.
It's a part of it.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of multiple branches of engineering, whether we talk about mechanical, we talk about software, we talk about embedded engineering, which is a combination of hardware and software, both computer science. All of these electronics, very critical to robotics. So all of these branches combine together to form a robot, actually, or a product into autonomous product. So to give a definition of what exactly is a robot, anything which is autonomous can be called as a robot.
Absolutely.
Right? From a self-driving car
helps you do your work efficiently, without any sort of like a human interaction.
Intervention, absolutely correct. So that is what a robot, or the main idea behind, fundamental idea of robotics is.
Yeah.
So I didn't get into any of that because again I thought that instrumentation, this will lead me to robotics, but not specifically.
So how long did you like take your time in deciding like in what phase of robotics do you want to focus yourself into, or that phase yourself into? Like, how did that guidance happen? Correct. Was there anyone who was guiding you in your career, or how did you do it? Because during that time, during the .com revolution,
this was post 5 years.
Yeah, this was post 5 years of that. And at the end of the day, like, people still were very new to something known as YouTube or something known as Google.com.
Correct.
During that time, there was Yahoo, and during that time, people used to not use the World Wide Web well.
Right.
So during that time, how did you like connect the dots and find out what is the best niche for you?
Okay, so to answer the question, Kaustav, actually I always had a keen interest into building a product, building something.
Okay.
So that's where this interest basically came on. So the idea was, how do I actually get into something which is autonomous? Why have something which needs some manual operations to be done, or some intervention which human intervention which requires to be to actually operate, needs to be done to actually operate the machinery. So that's how I got into the whole gamut of robotics, and it was something which came from within, that yes, I would like to do something into robotics. And initially I was researching, because I had the internet at that point of time. I had access to the internet, and I was researching on what best possible option will I get over here to get myself into, or indulge myself, or engage myself with robotics. And so two options are there: electronics hai, mechatronics hai, instrumentation and control hai. So these are the three branches. Electronics was of course one of the most sought after branches, electronics and communication. And post that, but again, the idea was to, although I wanted to get into robotics, I was looking for something niche. So mechatronics was my first choice.
Okay, acha.
However, I didn't get into it eventually, and I got into polymer engineering. But somewhere down the line, that very diverse. Yes,
diverse. Why polymer?
So it was basically, I would say, the niche sort of engineering which actually attracted me to it.
Okay.
So
was it from the family roots, something like that?
Not really. Textiles was my father was mainly into spinning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Achha.
Not the other domains.
Acha, not the other domain.
Yeah,
because there are multiple domains where you can utilize.
Spindles which can be used for textile machinery is what he was into.
Acha. Okay.
And then I decided to go ahead with polymer engineering, or rubber and plastic engineering, which was one of the niche courses in LD.
Okay.
The reason is also that material science has got tremendous application in robotics. So I thought this is something which is very critical to
can be relatable to
robotics. So that's how I got into it.
This is 2006, 2007.
2006.
Acha. Like after like once you're done with the polymer engineering, and once you have aced that, and what was the first intervention did you get? Did you get like a job, or did you start with a job, or did you start with your business?
No. So everyone was getting into masters. Everyone was interested to go into MBA, or was interested to get into an MTech.
Okay.
Most of my batchmates, they got into the same domain of engineering, where they completed the MTech and they completed the masters of engineering. And I, on the other hand, again was thinking that okay, I have to do masters, but again this has to be, because engineering is so specialized, I might as well select a masters which is specialized. So I gave my CAT.
Acha.
I gave my common aptitude test, which is conducted by the IIMs, and with all due respect to the IIMs, I was not targeting IIMs at that point of time. And
Nice.
I was looking for something specific, something specialized. So I came across PDPU, and, which was a petroleum, and it was it was just 2-3 years to PDPU, which was post inception. And oil and gas was the course, and then of course they diversified into energy and infrastructure because of the diverse interests it has in their energy domain. So I got through CAT, cleared the GDPI, and then I got into PDPU.
Okay.
And
how was the journey in PDPU in terms of your MBA?
In terms of the MBA, it was very. I mean, the trimester system is pretty rigorous. We didn't have a semester system. So we have the first year was like general MBA with an elements of oil and gas and energy and infrastructure, and post that the second year was mainly into specialized like subjects for energy and infrastructure. So we covered oil and gas, the commercial aspects of coal, the vertical integration, the oil.
So mota matlab you chased the Indian dream. You went for engineering first, did a branch of engineering, picked out a niche, then you went into MBA. And that too in MBA in a particular specialization, that too very technical specialization.
Right.
So, like, is this always that you wanted to do? Did you always wanted to do an MBA? Did you always wanted to do an engineering sort of a segment? Because you could have 100% utilized a different segment and specialize yourself into robotics.
Correct.
Because robotics itself could have been done by getting any sort of a niche into BTech of electronics and communication engineering. Because at the end of the day, Igneeva is currently working on electronics and segments of that.
Correct.
So, like the current now Nitiraj and the then Nitiraj, do you think you could have done something differently if given a chance, if you could go back?
Yes, I think with respect to my as much as I love what I did during my engineering days, in terms of studying the kind of different subjects of the engineering which I've qualified into, which is polymers and rubber and plastic. What I genuinely believe is that yes, the focus has always been onto robotics. Somewhere down the line, it was a passion. Somewhere down the line, I always felt that okay, I want to build something innovative, some products.
Did you make a robot during your college?
We participated in one of the competitions.
Oh, great.
Twice.
What was it?
We basically, so it was a college inter-college.
Yeah,
competition.
it always happens.
So,
like Robo Wars or
Robo Wars, yeah.
Okay.
So I actually, with a team of my classmates from different domains, someone was from electrical and I was from the different branch of engineering.
Great.
We created a robot which could race.
Oh,
So it was.
so was it like a line follower sort of a segment? Or it was like a racing robot?
Yeah. So basically,
RC car?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we created that, and after that, I think 3 years later, we went to one of the workshops for robotics and a competition which was conducted by Government Engineering College,
Okay.
Chandkheda.
अच्छा.
So that's where we actually
तो अहमदाबाद इकोसिस्टम में 2007-2008 में this was happening.
workshops, competitions has always been going on.
अच्छा.
Absolutely.
Wow.
In fact, I'll tell you a little story about how exactly the ecosystem is or the landscape is.
Yeah, that is what I wanted to know. Yeah.
Yes. So I think Robocon is one of the sort
Very
of
big.
competitions, very big
Yeah,
competitions.
very big.
Actually, most of the engineering colleges or aspirants, look forward to it.
Yeah.
And my CTO, my Chief Technology Officer, he had participated into it.
Okay.
And that's how we connected. So we had a common connect, and he introduced me to him.
Okay.
And we spoke about the idea which we're working on right now, and we bonded really well. And it's been 4 years that we've been together.
Oh, great.
So working together, yes. So yes, that is how I got his connect. It was through a competition, it was through Robocon, and there have been teams from Ahmedabad who have, I would say, been very successful in implementing robotics, even at a level of a Robocon, which is a national level competition.
Absolutely.
And they have, they have actually been able to win the competition.
Great.
Getting past.
Absolutely, because I come from SRM, so
Yeah.
I did my BTech in electronics and computer engineering from SRM. So during my time when I was the IEEE chairperson, so IEEE was a big name during that time, and after that there was Robocon, there was Rudra, there was making some Mars rovers. Because during my time of college, everything was so advanced at the time that people knew what sort of robotics that they wanted to do. Robotics was pretty big at that time.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, people used to understand that, if you're from a mechanical or a mechatronics background or an electrical background or electronics background, you pick out a niche, go into robotics, and that is a very big industry to tap into.
Correct.
But the later part of it, there's always a stop. Because when we talked about innovation, when we talk about robotics, and then we equated that with India, and then we equated that with what the job verticals lie out in India in terms of what robotics stand out for. At the moment, it has increased a lot. But during that time, when we think about it in this aspect, they used to always think, this is a niche that you can pick out as a passion rather than making a career out of it. Because if you'd want to make a career of it, then the best thing that you should do is go for masters, go abroad, go to Boston, go to Northeastern, go into that robotic lab, work with Boston Dynamics.
Absolutely.
So think in this aspect. Now, I am talking about my college that is very recent, but you're talking about a college life that is really around 10 years back, 12 years back at the down lane.
15 years.
15 years back down the lane. So when you're talking about 15 years down the lane, thinking of a career choice that was not at all a niche or not even a thought for a normal person in Gujarat also. An ecosystem is very business-like. Gujarat ecosystem. And if you would have been in Bangalore, or if you would have been in Hyderabad, or if you would have been in some, like a tech-based place, that people had a mentality during that time, like 15 years back. Right now, after the event of Narendra Modi, things have changed a lot. But in terms of before that, how did that thought come into, and how did you picture your career aspect into going into that line post Robocon?
Right. So basically, how it worked out is post my masters, I started working. It was I was
Where did you work?
I was working with I was actually placed from my master's, through my master's actually from my college.
Okay.
So it was into a utility company.
Okay.
And post that, I shifted to Ahmedabad. I was working as a business development manager, and then I started off with my independent consulting. But
Okay.
that thought always stayed with me that I actually wanted to get into robotics. Now, you're absolutely right when you say that being a qualified electrical or electronics engineer would get you the doors open to get into robotics. So the idea was, I want to build something. I want to get into this. I would like to explore this area, this domain, which has always been my first interest at the and that's how I happened to actually explore this idea further. So you're right. With respect to the state, say we talk about Gujarat or we talk about how was the landscape then and how is the landscape now. So Gujarat has been a very entrepreneur, very business oriented ecosystem, which is absolutely correct. Another thing is, I wanted to sort of break that notion as well. That that you don't have to be necessarily from Bangalore or Hyderabad or Gurgaon or any other sort of a tech place where you, or Delhi for that matter, or a metropolitan city where you need to think about robotics. I think you can think about getting into robotics. You can certainly get into it. One of the primary things which you need is that you need to be enthusiastic and passionate about it. And yes, over the period of time, you do gain experience, insight, and industry knowledge as to how to go about it. So that's been the case with me.
So how long did you do consulting for? Like how long did you do the job for?
2 years. So this was for almost about the first 6-7 years.
First of 6-7 years. Okay.
But
during that time, what was the mentality like? Like, was it the mentality that I would always want to pursue robotics as a passion post 6 years or 5 years down the lane? Or did job tranquil you so much into that arena or that ecosystem, that corporate ecosystem, for which you thought that, let's give it a break. Let me just go for a while, settle out, and then chase my passion. How was it like?
So initially, of course, I wanted to gain a work experience.
Okay. So do you recommend that?
Of course, I think gaining a work experience will only prepare you for what you want to do post your work experience, whether you would like to pursue entrepreneurship or want to get into business or want to do something very innovative like a startup or any of those domains. I think that's crucial, and I think post, just to answer your question, Kaustav, when you said that, how did I actually eventually get into robotics 6 years down the line? Was it always a precursor, or was it always a thought that I had that yes, I would like to get into robotics? The fact was, I wanted to, as an entrepreneur, I wanted to get into robotics, but then back in 2012, yes, there was not much of an ecosystem actually existing where I could directly jump into it, right? Or directly take a plunge into it. That was one thing. Second, of course, now the ecosystem has been, developed like anything in Ahmedabad, across India. That's one thing. The second thing which I like to highlight is, specifically because you asked me this question about, if I had a pre-thought that I'll get into robotics. I wanted to get into entrepreneurship. Now, which domain of entrepreneurship? This is sort of a marriage between entrepreneurship and robotics for that. So that is what basically led me to get into it. It was in fact in 2017-18 that I seriously thought that I would like to.
So you quit your. Did you just leave the consultancy firm like that, or did you just quit from there?
No, I was working as an independent consultant.
Oh, you were working as an independent consultant. Okay. So post that time frame, you how did the shift happen? Like the situation is. There's a working professional who's currently working in a company, for an example, Cognizant, or for an example, TCS, things like that. He has always this mentality that, I would want to focus on robotics as my core, and this is where I want to focus myself as a business owner also.
Correct.
Okay. So two aspects of it. Given a chance, how does this shift happen to, in a situation, if you'd want to be a business owner? Second, if you'd want to shift your place and actually work in a core sector as big as robotics, how would both the situation vary into if you are currently a working professional in a company?
So if say you're working with, say, the giants like Cognizant or Accenture or any of them, what basically happens is you need to be passionate to follow entrepreneurship. You need to be mentally prepared that that's what you really want.
There's going to be a lot of shortcomings.
A lot of shortcomings, and there's going to be a lot of challenges which you'll face over the period of time. That's one thing. Second, I would say have some level of financial support with you.
Okay.
You know, when you start off, that is something which is very critical.
Okay.
Because
how much support is the backup support that you would want if you're starting a deep tech company?
I think if you're starting a deep tech company now, of course, considering the inflation and the economics behind it, I think it's I mean, the ticket size is only increased. But at that point of time, probably at around 30-35 would have sufficed to probably take the plunge and get started. So I would say 3 years down the line, have the kind of financial bandwidth with
a backup is necessary.
Yes.
Financial backup is always necessary.
So have the financial bandwidth to basically take care of your business for the first 3 years. You know, if you're able to sail through, there's always a thumb rule. The first 1,000 days are very critical for a business.
Great, that's a lovely thumb rule. Yeah.
So the first 1,000 days, if you sail through, then obviously things will follow eventually post that.
So you had averaged out a time that there is going to be around 2 to 3 years of downtrend in terms of if you're going for a tech, like a deep tech based sector that you would want to focus into. That's what it took you time when you started Igneeva?
So when I started off with Igneeva Advanced Technologies, actually I was not, I wouldn't say that I was actually able to be so foresighted that I would say that, okay, this is the amount of timeline I would take to actually build the product. I knew that this is going to be requiring a lot of patience from me, resources, investment, and hardships.
Absolutely.
But I was mentally prepared for that. That's one thing. Yes, we did put a timeline to it, but in fact, it was post-COVID that things started to turn around in a much more positive manner than it was pre-COVID. Because initially the first year was complete research and complete planning, how to get into prototyping.
So you and the CTO?
I was actually someone from Carnegie Mellon University was assistant at that point of time.
Oh, congratulations.
Now, yes, and he happened to be very interested, in fact, deeply interested into mission critical robotics and defense robotics. I mean, the applications of robotics into defense.
Okay.
So we collaborated. We worked for almost a year and a half, and I was more interested into consumer robotics, and he was into mission critical robotics. So the applications of the use case was different, but also the domain was the same. So we thought that the best would be that, you know, he pursues his own passion and I follow my own.
So the first breakthrough was not even a breakthrough; it was a breakout. Things like
in a way,
but gave you a jump start.
But it gave me a jump start. It gave me.
You would have understood that this is something that will work. This is something that won't work.
Exactly. So that was one thing, and after that, I think what mattered post that is that I actually, so see, with respect to entrepreneurship, I genuinely believe you're as good as your team.
Yeah.
It's a make or break for any business startup or any enterprise that you're actually venturing on with. And if you are able to find the right set of people, so the first thing I would say, build a core team, build a team which is very crucial, is aligned with your vision, is aligned with your interest, and that's very crucial, right? And that's what I started doing post COVID. And yes, we as I said earlier to you, because of that, we got incubated, we incorporated the company, and yes, there's been no turning back.
That is how it was.
So it's been 4 years since our operations now.
Oh, great. So, right. Okay. Pretty interesting segments that we have captured till date, till now, Nitiraj, about your perspective about how companies have shaped from what it was before and what it is right now. Understanding about robotics landscape has helped me to understand a really good scenario about what things were before, even when I was 10 years old or when I was 11 years old down the lane, when you thought about the entire aspect of how robotics were. Now, I want you to give me a good perspective about some robotic innovations that is happening around the market that you have your eye on. That because obviously we have to follow the trend line, and with Nvidia scaling up and with everyone launching AI bots, AI agents within the robotics sector, what sort of innovations do you think are great, which are currently happening in the market right now, and how does Igneeva align into all these things in terms of what are the innovations that Igneeva is currently also doing?
Correct. So to start with what you highlighted, with the innovation and the landscape of robotics right now in the industry vis-a-vis the Indian context and the global context. So most of the economic value of artificial intelligence and robotics in terms of the value, as I said, the economic value has gone to Nvidia for sure. Right?
Absolutely.
Which is no wonder they are the most valued
Leveled up.
leveled up and most valued company in the world.
Done something really crazy.
So with respect to the economic value, most of it has gone to Nvidia, and as you rightly said, Kaustav, they've really leveled up and they've diversified in the domain. So right from GPUs, or I would say a vertical integration, GPUs, they have gone for invested into humanoid robots. They've invested into AI. Basically, they want to make AI be able to crack scientific breakthroughs. Okay, that's what they're focused on, and that's Nvidia. Now, the global landscape, what I believe in terms of robotics going forward, is going to be every home should have a robot. That's the idea of robotics. I believe humanoid robots is not only, so you talked about the industry 4.0 and 5.0. I'd like to indulge in it a bit more. So industry 4.0 is where most of the people are scared or maybe apprehensive about how robotics industry is going to shape it, the industries and the other allied aspects of it. Replacing the manpower or replacing the human, human resource.
Yeah.
Industry 5.0 is more of a collaboration between the two. So robotics and the human beings or
human automation.
Yes, human and automation, both. Yeah. The man and the machine will be working together.
Absolutely. Right? That's how. Yeah.
So the 5.0 makes more sense than the 4.0, where you complete.
What is the market cap for 5.0 right now in the ecosystem that we are currently in terms of Igneeva as well?
Right. Yeah. So, see, we are focused. We are one of the few consumer robotics companies from India. As I like to give a bit of precursor before I answer the question. Most of the industry, as I said earlier as well, that is skewed towards. Most of the robotics is skewed towards the industry. So whether we talk about sorting robots or warehousing robots or cobots or assembly robots, manufacturing, construction robotics, all of these is the B2B side of it, things with respect to the business. With respect to consumer robotics, we have scratched the surface of the market with respect to the Indian or the global scenario. Yes, you would say that probably North American or European Union or the more developed markets, say Middle East or Southeast Asia, has more density, robotic density, or the density of the robots actually, available in the consumer segment as well as in the industrial segment, and India is just catching up with it. So yes, that is the case. But we again, when I say robotics, when I say deep tech, specific to robotics, we are always going to have a competition from China. So to give you a ballpark figure of in the context of industry 5.0,
in the context of industry 5.0, and how does Igneeva shape itself into the same context?
So we are not replacing manpower. What we are saying is that we want you to deploy the manpower or the human resource or a house help, whoever you have, into more productive tasks or something which really enhances the quality of life in your day-to-day life. We are solving a critical pain point for our customers on a regular basis. So until robotics actually enters into our everyday lives, it will only be restricted to the industry. And that's where that's where we come into the picture. We want, as I said, every home should have a home bot or every home should have a robot. Right? So even with robotics, even with industry 5.0, you see the development of humanoid robots.
A lot,
a lot more. So at a scale,
Optimus and other like Sophia and other robots as well.
Absolutely. So whether there is Optimus, whether there is the figure AIs of the world, right? Basically, it is assisting the
humans.
Yes. So
AI agents.
Exactly. So that is how it is evolving.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
And that is one thing. And one more point I'd like to highlight over here is, it's not replacing a skilled manpower, but it's assisting a skilled manpower to actually be more efficient and more effective in their tasks, right? currently, that's the same with the general purpose robotics as well, or general purpose humanoid robot, right? So that is where the industry, I believe, is evolving at this stage. Globally, and in the context of India, we have very few humanoid robotics companies.
Yeah.
With respect to Igneeva, what I can say for sure is, yes, it is a project. It is in fact not just a project, but it is a segment worth pursuing. It is a moonshot. I'll be absolutely honest about it. It is a moonshot because given the kind of complexity it involves, right from the research and development to building a prototype to the MVP stage to manufacturing at scale, all the phases involved. And innovation can only be called innovation not by the virtue of the technology you create, but by the scale and the reach of that technology.
Exactly. That is exactly what I also believe, because the innovation needs to be also understood by the customer, because there might be some crazy innovations that we as product makers usually do. But if the customer segment is not able to understand that innovation, then it is just an innovation space that people just will read in books.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, I feel that even my perspective is ki Industry 5.0 is booming, that is really well, but people have a very bad, wrong notion of what they perceive into how innovation should look like at the end of the day, because it's highly dependent right now in terms of agentic AI coming in, replacing the workflows for you. I've seen my employees also, they're practically helpless if there is no chat GPT. So with the innovations of robotics and with the innovations of AI, I think Industry 5.0 has done a great deal.
Absolutely.
It's a great deal for a lot of manufacturing based units. But trust me, still a lot of big term companies like Reliance or Adani or Ultratech, if you go in their ecosystem, they still use Windows XP, they still use Windows 8.
I understand.
Yeah.
So the adoption to the humanoid robots or to Industry 5.0 is going to take a while.
Yeah.
But it will happen for sure.
Yeah.
That there's no two way about it. With respect to the economic value that it will unlock, I think anything between a 25 to $30 trillion GDP
Absolutely.
Of the industry itself, or the economic value it will create in the next decade is what I can, if I have to put a figure to it, that is exactly what I would say. Anything between a 25 to $30 trillion, it could be a plus or minus in that, but more so in case I'm more optimistic about it, that it will be
obviously significant contributors are Nvidia. Boston Dynamics has done such a lovely way with its Spot robot. And the way it has paved into, going into a lot of nuclear based sightings, panning up into different warehouses, starting from Walmart and different places out there. But just deployed that quadruple robot, very lovely.
Rigs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So things have, people have,
face.
exactly. So people have really focused on feasibility, and they've really focused on going into those narrow-minded based places where human can be basically a potential threat. And rather than endangering human lives, it's better that a robot does and evaluates it. And that's how we termed as robotics into. So they're doing pretty well.
So in the context of the industry, I would say it won't be restricted only to manufacturing or some critical industry, say like a mining or oil and gas exploration, or it will also be, it has got tremendous and deep applications into healthcare, into medical technology, into
surgical robots, everything out there.
Technology. Yeah. So all of these areas and domains are something which are to be explored and are going to only boom over the period of time.
Perfect. So perfect. Now we have discussed about Industry 4.0 and 5.0. Now I would want to pan it out my last segment where I would want you to just give it out to my audience out there. I'll give you two exactly situations where we'll be understanding how your behavior with around 15-20 years of experience in terms of the industry and with Igneeva starting up and everything, how would you basically help obviously a junior of yours who is watching this episode into two base situations. The first situation is we talked about Industry 4.0, we talked about Industry 5.0, we talked about robotics, we talked about how the automation industry has gone from haywire to currently right now wiring everything out there, like connecting everything, all the dots. So if you're a first year or a second year, third year student, you're in any sort of a branch of B.Tech, be it mechanical, electronics, electrical, IoT, with the way that the college has going on, and you know how tough the academics has been and how the CGPA has been, but there's no basically practical experience that the students are getting at the moment in terms of the exposure from the faculty. So they are doing it on their own. So as per your perspective, how would you want a first, second or third year student to make probably his or her career into robotics and then go across?
Okay, so that's a very good question. That's the question I and my CTO, my Chief Technology Officer, and my team, they do get asked this question frequently as to how could a second or third year engineering or probably an undergrad would actually get into robotics. What should be the path, or what should be the way for them, way forward for them? So what I would say is focus on the skill set. Focus on the skill set. Focus on the domain that you're into. So, for example, if you are an electronics and communication engineer, or say, for example, you are an instrumentation engineer, you are into mechanical and electronics, which is a combination of, like a mechatronics, which I spoke about earlier. Focus on getting deep skills into it, not only with respect to theory, but with respect to implementation as well. Now, when I say that, there are many, I would say, there is infrastructure available. There are labs available where you can try and test your ideas. Get yourself into making something. Prototyping is the way to go forward. If you want to learn to build something, you should be able to dissect it. You should be able to break it down. You should be able to dismantle it and then assemble it together. So I would say that's a fundamental skill set which I believe the engineers need to have, be it any domain for that matter. With robotics, what happens is it's a multi-faceted, line or multifaceted domain. So we have electronics, we have software. So if you focus on software, do also delve yourself into hardware, into embedded, get into electronics, understand how does the software actually solve the problem over here. How does the hardware solve the problem for the software? Okay, we have, with HomeBot, we have done everything in-house, right from designing our PCBs to the design and development. We redesigned the entire robot. We have done we'll be doing the software as well for it, developing the applications, Android and iOS based. So everything is done in-house. Now, there are different people working together from different disciplines who come together, and that's what makes a robotics. So there's ऐसा specific कुछ नहीं है कि robotics engineering जिसमें सब कुछ it's an amalgamation, it's a crucible where all these engineering branches sort of come into.
And so when it comes to this first to third year based students,
right,
in the internship phase, like if a person has a basic understanding of mechanical, can do designing, can do embedded, what is the internship that a person could practically get into being in second year or third year, and how much do you think he should be able to earn if he goes into a robotics segment, and what is the industry standard that is currently happening if you're a third year or a second year student?
Yes. So very important point which you highlighted is internship. Go for a year-long internship. Don't restrict it to 3 months, 6 months. Go for a year-long internship with a robotics, with a company who has some application into robotics. Could be a large enterprise like an ABB or a Fanuc or a Yasakawa or L&T or any of that, right? And you could choose a startup.
Absolutely.
Basically, what I believe is, with respect to innovation, with respect to the agility with which you move in learning things, you actually develop the skill set. I think is more so in the case of startups. Not only because
I was about to say that. Yeah, absolutely.
But the protocols, the procedures are more.
You learn faster. You will have more, chances to make errors and rectify it. And
exactly.
You're not making a very big loss, but you're learning everything from scratch. Perfect thing. And do you think people should aim for a monetary sort of a thing from the get-go itself? Because we did unpaid internships quite a lot of time.
I agree. I completely agree. I think focus on, as I said, focus on the skill, focus on the knowledge. Get as much knowledge and as much develop your skills at a level where you can command the commercials as per your terms and conditions.
Absolutely.
I think that's the idea.
That's the
and
best answer,
that's the best thing to go for. It's okay. Could be 6 months unpaid. Probably a not a very.
If you're getting to learn something, then you should go for that extra.
Exactly. So if you're getting to learn something, that's an area of interest. That's something which you would like to pursue and follow. Please go for it by all means, and don't worry about what I'm going to get right now. कि मुझे 6 महीने में क्या मिलेगा, 1 साल में मुझे क्या मिलेगा. What does the balance sheet look like? Because I'm spending my time because you're really learning, and robotics industry is a lot about learning.
It's a lot about learning and getting the right skill set.
I think sky is the limit when it comes after that. Because as such, with respect to the human resource that we have, the skilled human resource we have, or the skilled engineering talent we have in India or across the globe, I believe there's a lot of scope for India, and there's a long way to go as well.
Great. So I've gotten a great idea and probably a good roadmap about how these students have to do. Now, what about a working professional? That's situation number 2. So if you're into a job right now, so if you're freshly graduated, people just got into a GET based role but is not practically very much happy, like a working professional sort of a thing. If you'd want to probably shift your career, which you also did at the end of the day, if you want to shift your career into something that passions you, which is robotics, first question, how do you do it? Second question, if you're probably 2 to 3 years of experience in a field of robotics, how much is the salary for a robotics engineer that you could probably get in a very decent based company, be it a startup or be it a corporate? So 2 questions. Yes.
Okay. So for any working professional who wants to get into robotics, there are 2 options. Pursue your interest and search for companies which are up and coming into this domain, into robotics, because the chances of, or the odds of you getting into an established corporation with the kind of background that you have to get into robotics might be a bit difficult, right? So it's like saying that I want to be an astronaut tomorrow and I want to apply to NASA, right? And they're not going to accept me just like that because I've applied, okay, out of the goodness of their heart, because they're not going to do that. What we need to focus on is, again, the same point, is a skill set. So if you're already a robotics, you've done any of the disciplines related to robotics and you're interested into it, go for companies, gain some experience into it, either as a fresher or apply for a job over there, if that's the option available. Second, if you're a working professional with say 3, 4, 5 years of experience and would like to pursue this domain, I think entrepreneurship is something which you should be seriously looking at.
Oh, nice.
That is something which I believe what I did. Because coming from rubber and plastic engineering to E&I to business development to actually consulting and then into robotics has been it's been I think a multi-faceted profile, I would say. But this was, I always felt that robotics is something which has always been my true calling.
Absolutely.
So that is one thing. And with respect to the pay scale, what I can share with you, Kaustav, is the starting pay scale. So in context of India would be anything between any graduate trainee would get, say, in companies like a
ballpark figure you could give.
Exactly. So say something like a 3.5 to 4.5 to start with. To start with in when you are a fresh graduate and you just passed out from your engineering in any of the aligned disciplines. And otherwise, if you are an experienced professional, it can go up to
15, 17,
50, 60,
more
70.
Than
It can go to 1 lakh per month as well.
Oh, great.
In fact, even higher. Depending on the kind of role, responsibilities and the kind of profiles you actually get.
Absolutely.
Because now we have startups, we have enterprises which
we have really developed across. So the scope is a lot more for a person to even experiment into.
Exactly. So
and for experienced people to also get into that market.
Absolutely. So it's not only restricted to established companies only, that okay, if I'm applying to an ABB, what if I don't get selected or my application doesn't follow through? Do I have other options? Yes, you do have other options. There are venture funded startups. There are startups like ours as well, who are into a domain of robotics, a little different from what usually people get into firsthand. But yes, just to answer your question earlier, which you asked me, that what exactly is a future for us, or what is a path forward that we'd like to pursue, it is industrial robotics as well. That would definitely be something which we would like to pursue. And we are seriously getting into it as well. So that is one domain. And otherwise, sky's the limit. is
Sky's
what
the limit,
I
yeah.
generally
So
believe.
I've gotten a great advice from you right now. Obviously, to everyone who is out there listening to us, lovely having a conversation with you. And I think from my equation side, as one of the co-founders, I think we and Igneeva will go a long way ahead. I think you probably hired one of the people who've come from one of my programs. So
Yes. I would like to emphasize, and
Yeah.
highlight that too, that it's been great to
Yeah.
interact with you, Kaustav, and we in fact have professionally
Yeah.
also been engaged with my equations, and we have recruited for software
Great.
for my equations, and experience has been wonderful. So
Thank you.
we are really very happy about it, and I'm absolutely sure that we'll go a long way.
Absolutely.
Because as I said, I mean, earlier in my in the beginning of our conversation, that the team, you're as good as your team.
Yeah.
So the stronger it gets, the better
Yeah.
it gets. It's always
Exactly.
It always works mutually beneficial to both of us. So
Great.
that's what I look forward to. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much, team, for having us. And thank you so much, Nitiraj, for giving your time. We indeed had a lovely conversation. Talked about a lot of horizons about how we could go across. And I think people will obviously learn a few things from this podcast and would surely catch up. We talked about career. We talked about how you could guys grow. So just see every part of segment, relate to it. And I think you're going to go a lot way across. And stay tuned for more. Thank you.